Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Ford F-150 Lightning Flash. Below me are two electric motors powering this all-electric pickup truck. Now, I'm super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving the F-150 Flash. And I also spent a week back in, I believe, February, driving the 2024 F-150 Lightning Flash. And so there's not a whole big difference between the two trucks, but I really like this truck, and I'm excited to share with you why that is. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that all-electric drivetrain. Well, it is dual motor, meaning there is a motor up at the front as well as out at the rear. Now, this is the extended range version, so with that actually comes more power as well, meaning this makes 580 horsepower. Now, the number on everyone's mind is, of course, range. EPA estimates about 300 miles per charge. Not crazy great, not awful. However, I will say the F-150 Lightning is very good at its range predictions, and it's very good at sticking to them. So when this says I have 90 miles to go with 30% battery, it means I can drive 90 miles. It's very accurate in that way. So the number does sound lower, especially comparatively to the Silverado's 460 miles. But those are true, honest miles, and I know this vehicle is going to be able to achieve that, which is nice to see. The power delivery is great. It's quick, it's fun, it's fast, and it's silent. It's so silent and smooth. That's what really draws me to the F-150 Lightning, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Last but not least, of course, it is all-wheel drive since it is dual motor. So how does it feel to drive? It's very smooth. Visibility is decent. Ride quality is nice. I wouldn't say any worse than a traditional F-150, even though this is almost twice the weight. I think Ford did a good job keeping it still manageable on the road. I actually think it rides just as nice, if not nicer, than the standard F-150. And again, we'll be drawing some comparisons towards the end of the video, but it's all thumbs up from here. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. I do like this gauge cluster. I think it looks good, works well, and it's easy to read. That's not always a given with digital gauge clusters, so I like to see that. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our volume and adaptive cruise. This does have Blue Cruise, which is their hands-free highway driving, which is absolutely wonderful. Off to the right, we do have our skip track and selectors for that gauge cluster screen. And then off to the left, we have a climate control vent, our headlight switch and gauge dimmer switch, power parking brake, and pedal adjustments. Moving on to the door, we have the lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. And moving into the center, we get our giant infotainment display. Now, I like some things and dislike others about this. First of all, I think it's pretty clear, and I think it's pretty easy to read and see. It's easy to use, easy to navigate. Finding my way through the menus isn't very hard, so I like all of that. What I don't like is the climate controls being ran through the screen. Now, this is my complaint with any vehicle that runs the climate controls through the screen, but particularly Ford vehicles take just an extra couple seconds to boot up. And the week that I had this truck, it's early September. It's cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon, cold at night. It's changing so much that I'm changing the climate controls a lot. So when I get in the car, it takes about an extra 15-20 seconds for the screen to boot up. And so I'm either freezing or way too hot. It never felt like it was right. And because of that lag, I couldn't change the climate as fast as I wanted to, so that was definitely a downside. One of the big positives is that it does have a very nice 360 camera and camera system, of which you can also hook up extra cameras for if you have a trailer. Getting away from the screen, off to the left, we have our Pro Trailer Assist, as well as our trailer brake adjustments, and off to the right, we have an opening upper and lower glove box, 12-volt outlet, and a wall outlet. At the very bottom, we do have our max defrost, hazard switch, parking assist, and traction control off. And down below, we have a USB-C as well as USB-A in a big cubby. Moving on to the center console, we do have the shifter off to the left. You can fold down the shifter to allow the center console to fold open. And off to the right, we have cup holders. We'll do a big freaking bottle test, but kind of shockingly, it doesn't pass. The F-150 of the 2010s did. This does not. So don't anticipate bringing too much water with you in your big electric pickup. Then we do have that center console. We have a bunch of coin holders and whatnot inside. However, you can also flip it open. However, actually, as I'm looking here, I don't think I can actually flip this center console open. So you can fold down the shifter for basically no reason. Okay. A little odd. Well, we also have the seats. The seats are this like vinyl leathery. They kind of look and feel almost work trucky, which is fine. They've been comfortable and they're heated. I don't mind that. It's just that this is $75,000. I would have liked a little bit more premium feeling seats in here. Like I said, they do the job, and I'm not complaining. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the F-150 Lightning, and this is, it's a living room back here. I mean, this is really, really better than some apartments you'll find downtown Chicago. I mean, this is so big, and I love it. If you have a family, they're gonna love riding back here. They're basically in their own world. The same material of seats carries on back here. We do have cup holders, we have 2 climate vents, we have 2 USB-Cs, as well as a wall outlet. And these seats that I'm sitting on currently do fold up. One thing that is missing, I guess technically 2 things, no sunroof, which I would have liked to have seen, and no center openable window back here. So the F-150 XLT from 2025 that I also reviewed had a nice sliding window in the back. This doesn't. So would have loved to have seen that. But overall, I love the back seats of the F-150s. I think they're just incredible. And honestly, nicer than what you'd find in a lot of SUVs, you know? So that's very, very nice to see. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the bed and cargo space, as well as the frunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the F-150 Lightning, and interestingly enough, this one does not have a power tailgate. So, traditional strap tailgate here. Now, there's 2 ways to think about this. First of all, at $75,000, I would have liked a power tailgate. However, this tailgate is going to be a lot more reliable. It's not going to get stuck open or closed in cold weather or anything like that. Just tried and true traditional cables. So from a simplicity standpoint, I do like to see that. So you can make up your own mind. We do have some measurements down here. Love to see this. I love that Ford includes that. This says accessory ready over here. We have some tie down straps, nice Ford bed liner. But over here, this is really where you want to be. So 2 wall outlets, 2 mower outlets, and then a 240 outlet. So very, very cool to see that. You have some fuses and power buttons and whatnot. You can power 240 with your F-150 Lightning. And honestly, that's one of the biggest drawing points to this truck. So you can run 240 stuff. You can run a welder off of the back of this truck without any modifications. You don't need to build a whole welding rig. You could run it right there. You want to put a washing machine in the back, you can make it run off of this. Very, very cool. So obviously no power assisted, anything like that. We do have the step that comes out. Jeez. So pull this out, up like that, and now it makes it nice and easy to get up into the bed. But we can put that back, close it up, and there you go. Nothing really to it. Coming around the front, we do have a frunk. Boy, do I hope I cleared this out before I made this video. I guess we're gonna see together. So, to open it, you can use the key fob. I usually use the key fob. There is a hidden button to the right of the Ford logo down here that will open it. It is pretty well hidden. Oh, I did clear it out, nice. So once we are up here, a couple of things to note. We have more wall outlets over here, as well as USB-C and USB-A. If you're tailgating, if you're, hanging out at the soccer field, watching the kids play, you could sit in here, charge your devices, have a coffee maker going if you wanted to. I love this little Easter egg, the 1913 little diagram there, covering some battery whatnots. We have some hooks, so you can hang some stuff, and you can pull this up. We have some extra chargers and whatnot found down here. This is the emergency opening in case you put one of the neighbor's kids in here and they can't get out. We do have the button up here again to close it, so hit it once and it is a power operated frunk, which is very nice to see. Absolutely love that. It's nice and smooth. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really do like the look of the F-150 Lightning. I like the fact that it's like 99% the same as the traditional F-150, but gets different lighting and badging and things like that. It definitely looks unique. And I say 99%. It actually doesn't share a whole lot of sheet metal with the standard F-150. However, it looks like it does, and that's all that matters to consumers. So, very, very interesting to see that. I think this red is a very nice color as well, and really makes the truck pop. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the F-150 for another week? Well, I love the F-150 Lightning, and truly, besides the Raptor R, this is the pickup truck of the modern era that I would want. I do believe that this is a better driving experience than the 5-liter Coyote V8 or really any other F-150, again, besides the Raptor R. I think this drives smoother. It drives a lot nicer than the 5-liter V8 and has way more power. And part of that smoother ride is the fact that the suspension is completely different. So this actually has independent rear suspension, where the traditional F-150 has a solid rear axle. And that does help out with the ride quite a bit. I normally don't touch on things like that. I normally don't talk about the suspension all that much because I've had sophisticated suspension feel terrible and simple suspension feel amazing. So I try to go all off of feel, but that is one of the reasonings why this is a little bit different, because there is an electric motor at the back and not just a simple drive shaft. The suspension is set up differently, and I think that does help out the ride. Again, that power's on tap. It's silent. I can come in and out of the neighborhood at 1 in the morning and I'm not going to wake my neighbors. And it's still an F-150. I'm still up above traffic. I still have my big, nice truck that I love to see and drive. This is the best F-150 for 99% of F-150 owners, because 99% of F-150 owners like that bigger ride and they like having the bed, but they're not towing every day. They're not putting the boat in and out of the lake every single day. You might have to do it once or twice a year, and for that case, the F-150 Lightning is great. Yeah, it'll suck up the charge pretty good, but at the same time, that's once or twice a year. Yeah, if you want to go pick up a car on Facebook Marketplace, you can still do it with this truck. And I think F-150 owners have to be really honest with themselves. How often do they use the bed? And when you're realistic about that, you realize that this is just a big daily driver. It's okay to like the F-150 because you sit up higher. It's okay to like the F-150 because you like feeling big. It's okay to like the F-150 for non-truck reasons. And I like this for non-truck reasons. It rides nice, drives good, it's quick, looks good. I think truck guys are just so bent on loving, oh, gasoline, I love it. But if you pull that stigma out of it and just compare driving experiences, this is better. Now, I will say 13 grand more than the 5-liter V8 that I also tested. And so 13 grand ain't pennies. That's a big distinction. But if the money proposition doesn't mean much to you, this is the better driving feel. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Ford for letting me borrow their F-150 Lightning for the last week. Huge thank you to G. Schmitz for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this F-150 Lightning. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.